Alright guys, back in another video, and this time we're going to be using my new phone, which is going to tell me if there's any difference between my previous videos and this one. It should be a lot better quality. And yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. One of my favorite leaders of all time, Soul Striker Reboot. It only does attack, draw a card, or untap a blue energy, mono blue. And when you have a Unison at 3 cost blue on the board, you can awaken, draw 2 cards, and flip over. Also, if you get in the pinch and they're attacking you really a lot, you can awaken at 4 or less life. Attack, draw a card, then switch up 2 mono blue energy up to active mode. Standard, untap 2. And at the end of the turn, switch one of your blue Unison cards to active mode. But that part doesn't really matter anymore. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this is a Universe 3 Catapesla engine in here. So we got 4 of the 1-drop Searcher, 4 of the dual attack barrier. He also has a neat interaction auto whenever somebody attacks. We got Catapesla Righteous Fury, the 5-drop, evolves for 2. I'll explain more about this. This is draw a card and removal. And then the boss, the finisher, 30k, dual attack, double strike, critical barrier for 1 energy over top, and he restands when you play him off of evolve. So basically your strategy revolves around these guys, and I will explain a few more things about the deck that I do not really care for, but it is very, it's a win more strategy in the sense, it's not like the typical just blue good stuff, but this engine's really nice, and it has removal, which blue needs, draws cards and recycles themselves, and does a lot of damage that blue doesn't have without this engine. Which the leader untapping the 2 energy makes this line just a lot easier to play. For Baby Unison, this is one of the best cards, Heart and Soul. Draw a card every turn, +2. And if you have the baby counter, you can use the -5, and it works until the end of your opponent's turn, so they really can't play around it. Super good card. And play one more Unison. Tempted to bump this up to another copy of this one, or play my boy Goku Black, but typically you really don't care to see either one of these. This is 20k, so in dual attack, so it kind of goes along with the theme as well of dual attack and attacking multiple times, so this is just a good card. But 5 Unison is usually fine for your awakening, but you need a mulligan for it. Just because we're laying Unison, play 4 copies of this card, the best counterplay. One of the best counter attacks for the format. If you have a Unison, it becomes a 1-drop, then they can't attack with things greater than their energy unless they put things on the bottom, 2 cards on the bottom of their deck. Really, really good. What would this deck be without 4 beans? You could technically take one of these out for the format and try to trim the deck down to 50 cards, because this is a little more than 50 cards currently. And I'll explain one reason why I like that, especially after testing it. You want to keep your blue count high because you do need 3 blue energy for the first 3 turns, and your 17 cards in your deck are black. So then you have some multicolored cards and yellow cards you do not want to charge. Well, on the first 3 turns, that is, you really need 3 blue, so you can use Baby Unison on turn 3. But this goes really well along with your dual attack cards, whether it's your Gogeta Unison or your Catapesla attacking multiple times. But this card's super good in this deck, and yeah, it's also just a good defensive card. For D-Magic, you just want to be able to play defensively and make sure that you are getting the most out of your life. If your opponent's trying to just start attacking your guys or clear your board and do whatever they can to get rid of your engine, you can eventually, when you get 5 and drop, you can take a life, resend 2 energies, and play defense that way. Also, this card's just super good. But I wouldn't say that. Don't be afraid to charge these. They're not that important. Super combos, got 2 Zamasu super combo, and this is supposed to be 2 Vegeta, but I need a second one. I cannot find my second one. But these are essential in the sense that this card is good, but it's not that good against certain decks. So playing a 2-2 split, drawing cards is important, and keeping your hand up is important. So, and since we're playing Zamasu Super Combo, we're going to play 2 Goku Hit. Now, I will say, the only reason I'm not playing more copies of this, I'll probably decide another copy or 2 for depending on the matchup, but this card is like something you do not want to draw in your opening hand, because you do not want to draw an abundance of cards that are not a part of your engine and that are not mono blue, because you cannot charge them. You cannot afford to charge them, that is. So 2 Goku hits fine. 3 of your 8. This is there mainly because you can reach same 2 energies, and that can be done on one of your off turns. Say if you just are trying to gain advantage back, and also this can help your rival in Goku hit, which is something to note. But mainly because on your turn 2, you don't really have anything too crazy to play if you don't have your engine, and I could see myself maybe siding a 4th copy, but I think 3 is perfect in the sense you don't need to see this card. And also, once again, you technically could play 2 or less copies because it does not have anything to do with your engine, and it's not a mainstay like necessity for this deck because your engine is black and you really need blue energy. So this is mainly there for your turns where you do not see your engine 1-drops and you want to be able to draw 2 cards and try to dig for that Unison or that engine. 3 Obuni because it's just a win con against Dark Broly, and yeah, this card is super good. Also, that I could see myself playing a 4th potentially. I do have a 4th, but this card is super good as an alternate win con, and I would not really play any other one other than this one for this specific deck. 2 baby counter. Typically 2 is fine. It has unique, and you'll see it eventually when you draw a lot of cards via your baby units. But I could see myself siding a 30 against decks that are counter heavy, and that really, this card really protects this card. This card, you saw it in my Trunks video, but this deck abuses this card way more than my Trunks, in the sense that if you slam this, and then on the next turn you crack baby Unison -5, and you have this plus this, there is no way they're surviving in most cases. I don't see a way for most decks to be able to handle that if you've been pressuring properly. And not last but not least, baby Hatchet. This deck is over 50 cards. I think it's 54 currently, or 53. I forgot to check. But yeah, you can see there's a lot of cards you do not want to charge specifically, so you do need to up that count of blue cards. Cards you do not want to charge are obvious, like your super combos, your baby Unisons, unless you have multiple, your black cards in the early game. So you have a lot of cards. Let's count. I think this deck is pretty greedy, and I will say these are the number of cards you do not want to charge unless you have. You'll understand what I mean. Let's count the number of cards you really don't want to charge, and then you'll understand how hard it is sometimes to basically handle it after mulliganing if you don't see your pieces. So I'm going to count the cards you do not mind. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So there's 21 cards you actually don't mind charging. Now, I will say once again, that does not mean that you cannot charge a super combo blue, mono blue one, or an extra Unison. So if say for example you do see a Unison, let's add those in. You have 4 more copies if you have, so 25 cards if you see a Unison, 21 if you only see one Unison. So that is something to note when building this deck, is don't be afraid to go over 50 cards in the deck, because like I said, this deck is pretty greedy. When I mean greedy, I mean you have to see your engine to start playing, and you don't have very many cards to charge. There have been decks like this in the past, but this one I think is probably the greediest deck in the game when it comes to that. But thank you guys for watching once again, and I hope you enjoyed it. I still haven't really, I've been doing more test play hands with this deck than playing against people, so this deck probably could be trimmed down a little bit depending on the format, and I could side copies instead of main decking so many. A few tech cards that I would have considered, but once again, I'm not sure if they're proper for the format. Here, you got these cards and Makey Orb. I was trying those out in the deck, and I don't think it's going to be that great in the upcoming format. I think I'd rather just max out on the Trunks counterattack, mainly because it has an additional effect and only costs 1. Yes, it does not work on turn 2, which does suck, like Make You Up does. But typically you don't have to worry that much on turn 2 unless you're playing as Red Broly. And on that chance, you can just play defense through regular negates and beam and comboing and Goku hit and do what you can to survive until you get to that turn 4 or 5, and that's when you can turn the game around. But see you guys in the next video. Deuces.